So what do we expect moving forward? We are now presumed to enter a Great Depression that is worse than the first Great Depression, where our supply chain is going to be exhausted. We don't know if we have the workforce to manufacture the goods that we need, and we don't know if we have the trade, if other countries can continue to provide the goods that we have been importing to keep up with our supply chain. We don't know if workers can deliver, if they can package. We don't know if it's safe to grab our Amazon boxes, because Amazon workers have come out and said that they were not given adequate goods to protect themselves and those who they're delivering to. We know that the virus stays on surfaces for several days, including cardboard. We're learning about the virus as it spreads at a rapid pace, as our healthcare workers are stressed, as our healthcare workers are getting sick themselves, and in some cases dying. We don't have enough hospital beds, we don't have enough masks, we don't have enough disinfectant, we don't have enough workers at this point who can try to contain this virus before the pandemic spreads to a point where we really won't be able to turn it around. I don't know. I'm not a medical expert. I am probably reading and hearing from the same medical experts that you are. But what we do know at this point is there is not enough testing out there. We're way behind on the tests. The numbers that we're getting are a week old, meaning because there aren't enough tests out there, we're not adequately getting a handle on how many people actually have the coronavirus, which is why we are all at home right now, and why it is on us as informed citizens to tell our neighbors, our parents, our grandparents, our friends, our loved ones, that you have to stay home. Not just about your health, but it's about the global health. It's about society. It's about humankind. You couldn't write this, right? There's no way, no sci-fi novel could prepare for this type of scenario, where not only are you sitting here trying to contain a pandemic, but in containing the pandemic, the economy collapses. That people can't access food, not because there's a drought, but because workers can't produce the food, deliver the food to the people who are consuming the food. People can't spend the money. This is a consumer-based economy. You know, they're going to issue checks to Americans, and that is an effort to boost the economy. But where are Americans going to spend the money? Our economy is going to be stressed in a way that we really aren't. There was no way to predict this. And then what happens after a disaster, as we've seen in New Orleans, as we've seen in through Katrina and through Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico, and we saw it after 9/11 in New York and globally, is what comes after the disaster, and that is the capitalism. I think a lot of folks are concerned about the role that the concentrated elite, meaning the amount of money that the 1% has right now, is going to use to take advantage of this situation. When everything has become devalued overnight, almost everything, who are the folks that are going to go up there and start buying things up? Who are the lawmakers who, in a year, 2 years, who knows how long, are going to call to privatize government programs? Right now, socialism is hot because we expect our government to respond immediately and directly. They're the only folks who can actually respond to the concerns and needs and livelihoods of the American citizens. But what happens in a few months when the government doesn't perform up to task? Who are the capitalists who are going to come out, the CEOs, the right-wing libertarians, who are going to say, maybe we should privatize the CDC? Maybe we should privatize the way that we allocate funds to individuals. Maybe we should privatize the Postal Service. Now, we all know the Postal Service, we could have postal banking that would release funds directly to individuals instead of relying on this antiquated system. How are people going to get access to the money? Is it going to deposit directly in their banks, or do they have to go through some government program, some bureaucracy, where people aren't even working in the bureaucracy? We have to figure out how we're going to work through this. And I think the other aspect of this that has not been discussed enough is, how do we as citizens hold our government and our lawmakers accountable right now? We can't go out on the streets and protest. We can't knock on doors for grassroots campaigns right now. We don't even know if we are going to have elections at this point. This is prime territory. This is set up for an authoritarian to come in, as if he wasn't already there. I don't know if that's the angle all along, but it is essentially the scenario that we're facing. Not to mention, we have a concentration of capitalism and their monopolies out there that are really going to be the only companies that survive this crisis. When huge restaurant chains have said they had to lay off their entire workforce within 3 days because they knew shutting down their restaurant was going to shut down their business. Huge companies have realized that they're going to go under. They were doing great 2 weeks ago, and now suddenly they can barely exist. But who survives through this? The airline industry may not survive. Restaurant chains may not survive. But there are going to be some companies, some monopolies that survive and actually make more money and grow larger as a result of this crisis. And so how do we as citizens, our voices, when we unify, can push up against the system, and they can be loud and they can hold lawmakers accountable. But I'm not sure how long we're going to be able to do that when we are worried about feeding ourselves, when we are worried about taking care of our sick loved ones, when we are worried about whether or not we're going to have a home in a couple of months, when we're worried about whether or not our savings even means anything anymore because the dollar might be devalued. When we are worried about, can we get to the other side of the country to be with our loved ones because we can't leave where we are right now? These are the concerns people are talking about right this second. And I think that on the show moving forward, we're going to make a real effort to provide you guys with the tools that we can find at this point to push back, to hold our government accountable. And a big part of that is through independent media. I mean, thank God we are able to have Zoom meetings and connect with each other on Skype and through FaceTime. And thank God we have a broadband system in many communities, but not all, that is keeping many businesses alive at this point. Thank God we can be an alternative to cable news right now. But we're going to have to do some real creative brainstorming about how we as organizers and activists can make sure that our voices are heard in this time of crisis. And I do think that there are many lawmakers who are stepping up and who are rising up who may have not before. And that's great, but we need to make sure that they're doing so. So stay safe, stay healthy. This is a long road ahead of us. We are in this together, and I'm only hoping that I can help deliver the tools to you guys so that you can continue to be active citizens in this country.